Hello, friends. Hello, veterans and people who love and support them. Our show is Let's Talk Veterans Affairs with Dennis Anderson. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. That's a clinical therapist with High Desert Medical Group. But what we do talk about, even though we have no affiliation or any relation of any formality with the VA, we talk about Veterans Matters and things that matter to veterans. And today I have a return engagement with my Navy. He's a blue water combat veteran of the U.S. Navy during the Vietnam War. And to that degree, we are brothers.
Yes.
In generation and service. So, Colbert, when we talked earlier, you discussed with me and shared with me boot camp, facing down racism in the service, the traumas of combat engagement, and ultimately coming home. But I would like to ask you about a couple of different things today.
Sure. Okay.
And the one thing I would like to ask you is, if I understand correctly, we share a common history to the degree that we are both licensed clinical social workers. So we work with sometimes problems of the mind, problems of emotion. But you had to go through some of that yourself. You had a claim to make for the benefits that you ought to be awarded as a veteran both of the Vietnam War and a veteran of naval service. And what did you do and how did it go?
Well, how it initially started, how I came into the VA, came from a traumatic event in my personal life that, I was terminated from a job, and I'll just leave the source of that anonymous.
How long after service was this?
Oh, my termination?
Yeah, no, not when you went to the VA.
2005.
Okay, so 30 years after
2006,
service.
right.
Yeah, okay.
And what got me there was I was a motorcycle accident, believe it or not.
Okay.
And I got injured, so I'm limping around, and I had never used the VA before because I've always been gainfully employed, had health insurance, all that
Very
stuff.
well.
So I didn't think that I would qualify. But somebody said, well, you're a veteran, go to the VA's office. So I limped in there, and the lady says, well, sure. First thing you do, you have to fill out the paperwork, and they did a financial profile.
Okay.
And then they'll ask you, do you have any insurance? I had none. So that put me, in a different category,
Okay.
Zero insurance. And that was 2006.
All right.
Okay. My first rating came, I was diagnosed with PTSD 2009.
Okay.
Came from Vietnam
So
in
it's a
1972.
four-year process to get the rating.
Oh, yeah. You don't roll in with a rating.
Yeah.
So from there, you kind of stair step
Yes.
all your way through. And
Do I understand they told you you hadn't necessarily been in Vietnam?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
What was that?
Again, I've learned, and I've shared with brothers, you have to learn to compartmentalize your anger. So when somebody tells you you were not in theater, now...
What did they think they meant by that, your VA interrogator?
Well, this says, well, Colbert, were you there? I says, well, somebody's not reading something.
Yeah.
Now, we were awarded the Presidential Unit Citation for combat action ribbon.
Okay.
Now, how do you get that, Dennis?
It would presume that there was a combat action and you were awarded.
Yeah, yes. So for somebody to say that you weren't in theater,
Yeah.
and then, it has all the Vietnam campaign and all that
And
kind
that
of
was
stuff.
your ship during that campaign.
That's correct.
Okay.
So you have to appeal, because you can't scream and holler. I've learned early on I was compartmentalizing, unbeknownst to me, when I came back from Vietnam.
Yep.
But
That's symptomatic, by the way.
yes. Right.
Yeah.
So that kind of leapfrogged you, and again, I lived in mental health. I tell people I lived in mental health.
Yeah.
And there was a stigma.
Yes.
When I got diagnosed, the first call I made, Dennis, was to the Board of Behavioral Sciences, because I thought I would lose my license.
Oh my.
And so I explained to the lady who answered the phone what was going on. And so I said, well, I'll lose my license. She said, Mr. Williams, absolutely not. Then she said, as a matter of fact, we wish more clinicians would go down the road that you're going down.
Very well.
So again, there's that stigma.
Yes.
Going into mental health that's correct. Because and every week I never missed an appointment. And what happened then, I started to do what I call the journey of introspection, going through my life, connecting the dots. And now, in 7 years, intensive individual therapy with a psychiatrist.
And by that time, had you understood, because you did have a rating, post-traumatic stress disorder, had you come to, I don't know, manage, cope, understand it as you went along?
Well, as I went along, I started looking at the collateral damage.
Yes, sir.
And to this day, I carry some guilt behind that. Relationships.
Okay. Yep.
And so, why did I do the things I did back then?
I see.
And, marriage, that took a hit, and then I was like, wow, so, yeah. And then I didn't realize I was doing this.
No.
They call compartmentalizing. And so how I became invisible was where I was compartmentalizing at.
Yeah.
And that was, I went back into college and started working on I had a career underneath my belt. I came out of boot camp, out of the military. I went to mortuary science college. Why did I make that choice, going into the field of death and dying?
Sure.
And when people have this fear of death, but combat, from what we experienced, you're almost like, how would you call it, desensitized.
Yes.
To that. So I had no problems dealing with death and dying.
Compartmentalizing is closing a door on something.
Well, yeah.
And keeping it in the other room.
Yes, and then you're functioning at this level, and so I've had people say, well, you get all these letters behind your name. Now I used to be in that where you're at, right?
Right.
So now I'm over here. With the mental health issue.
You had an MSW, you had an LCSW, but you got other acronyms now too. You got PTSD.
Yes.
Maybe you got some MDD, maybe you got some GAD. These are different letters, but they keep going.
Yeah, and I've had people say to me, well, you don't look like you're disabled. Or, one of my psychiatrists said to
Not
me.
laughing,
Yeah, no, I got you. He says, well, Colbert, have you ever harmed any of your patients?
Oh.
It was a valid question.
Yeah.
So I paused for about 5 seconds, looked him in the eye and said, no.
Yeah.
I said, okay. So then we moved on and then to compartmentalize this, to 2014, I had to make a decision. So I shut down my private practice. Everything got shut down. And I had to make a decision to stop practicing to focus on Colbert because I became saturated. Now, because after 40 years of compartmentalizing, Dennis, if you could,
sir.
And the doctors told me you do it at a very high level, so i.e. vis-a-vis, being invisible.
In the vocabulary of these things, we call it high functioning. But high functioning does not mean that things are well.
Exactly. Or, the stigma, PTSD. And it hits me at my heart and soul when you hear events that are happening in the society, especially involving the veterans, that, may not be, they throw that stigma. Something happened, suicide. Oh, well, they had PTSD. Or there was some, aberrant behavior or something went down, PTSD. So it's not always that. I'm sorry.
Well, no, of course. I have Vietnam veteran friends who really despise the D part classification of PTSD. They would have a preference that we call it post-trauma stress as opposed to calling it a disorder, implying that there's something about them that's mentally disordered. They're stressed. And the issue I had explained to me was, Well, we have to have a diagnosis or we can't compensate. And compensate means award you the funds that are due because you sustained injury in service.
Right. And I got to say this. Do you know where they put that category of PTSD in the DSM-4 Diagnostic Statistic Manual?
Go ahead.
Mental illness.
Yes, right. And it makes people crazy.
Why there?
Yeah.
Why there
Yeah.
does PTSD have to be a mental illness?
Yeah.
You know, stigma.
Stigma. That's correct.
You know, and so therefore, this is another issue that came up. Can a person who has PTSD apply for a concealed weapons license permit?
Sure. Yeah.
You know, oh well, yes or no. I mean, we live in Southern California, so it's very difficult to get a concealed weapons permit in LA County.
Going to be easier now, but okay.
I may still try.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, but you know, I don't know. I've never seen that application process, but you know, as everything else, you know, you gotta be truthful. You know, do you have any mental issues? They'd like to throw that word
Sure.
out.
Yeah, do you have any mental issues? That's right.
You know, so yeah, I got, you know, and if you look at, you know, I'm 100% service connected with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay.
So I must be a threat to society.
Well,
You know?
I think what you are is a service veteran who did his duty
Yeah.
and achieved honorable status and has survived much.
Yes.
So I'm going to just change direction here
Sure.
for a little bit.
Sure.
The last time that you and I talked, you were going through some personal crises of living.
That's correct.
As to where would you be living and how would you be doing it.
That's correct.
So what has changed since then and how did that happen?
Well, my brother had taken gravely ill, you know, so I was
Okay.
living in one of his rental properties. I had temporary shelter because
Temporary
I
shelter.
was homeless, disabled Vietnam veteran. So I was, you know, informed that Colbert, you're going to have to move in about 6 weeks. So now stressed, I'm overwhelmed, you know.
Clock is ticking.
Yeah, and I remember what happened. You know, that the flashbacks,
Sure.
all these parallel things that we experienced. Where am I going to go?
Where are you going to
You know,
go?
how can you move somewhere in 6 weeks?
Okay.
And so I was becoming very overwhelmed with that.
Yeah.
And so,
We had a brief conversation
right,
with some options.
right. So then there's a thing. One of the things that it's a Colbert issue, reaching out for help.
I see.
So I called Chris Ward at the Congressman
Garcia's
Garcia's
office.
office.
Mike Garcia's office.
And so I said to Chris, because
She
we
is
had
the
a relationship
veterans
before,
advocate
right?
there.
So I've worked with her over the years. So I says, Chris, this is what's going on. You know, I may become homeless. And da 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 da. So she says, I know someone that can help you.
Okay.
And she referred me to, his name is Dexter Stinson.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and she referred me to Dexter.
Dexter's a Desert Storm veteran, Army guy.
That's correct. And so he can help you. So I said, okay. You know, so I called Dexter, explained what was going on. He says, yes, I can help you. So, you know, told him, you know, this is what I need from you.
Okay.
And so I was giving him everything that he was asking for.
Okay.
And I'm still like, where am I going to go? No, now I'm living in my brother's rental property that I have to vacate.
Yeah.
So I had to explain to some family dynamics
Yeah.
that I was asked if I could purchase that property. I didn't think I could, but I was told I couldn't. But, you know, then that changed. So that got the green light. So Dexter
Yes.
got me approved,
Wow.
for pre-approved, I should say,
Yeah.
for a home loan.
Okay.
Now, and again, you know the market today. You know, I've been out of the real estate market since 2010 when I lost my home.
You were in the right window precisely.
You know.
Tougher now.
Yes. Oh, you know, and so, you know, 400,000 plus. How can I qualify for
Yep.
that? I'm on a fixed income,
Okay.
you know, but after, you know, we crunched numbers, and so to make that long story short, I got approved, and I got the green light to buy the house, and then through Dexter, you know, I started getting referred to, because I didn't know I was going to be able to buy the house. So I'm calling the Veterans Network. I think I called you, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
told you what's going on.
Roger.
You said, well, Colbert, call so and so and so and so. These,
Yep, yep.
That network.
Yep.
And so I did. I told them what was going on, and so there were a lot of moving parts in this network.
But you're a homeowner.
That's correct.
I want to share this with everyone who's watching here. And if you're watching and you like the work we're doing, please hit the subscribe button for Veterans Affairs with Dennis Anderson. What I want to bring from this is this. You have overcome much, and you have used your own resources of resilience and patience. And the good compartmentalization is you didn't let things go off the rail. And you got help. You got mental health help. You got veterans help. You got Veterans Network and Housing Assistance help. And you are an American success story,
Wow.
Colbert Williams. And
Wow.
it's a privilege to be acquainted with you.
Thank
to
you
know
so much.
Call
Thank
you
you.
friend.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll come back another time.